I want to ask you something before we begin, and I need you to answer it honestly, at least to yourself. How many divine letters have you received this week? How many videos have started with the words, "God has a special message for you today," or "The angels are reaching out right now," or "Someone from heaven has been trying to contact you for hours"? How many times have you heard a calm, beautiful voice tell you that your breakthrough is coming, that heaven sees you, that you are loved and chosen, and something extraordinary is on its way? I know the number. I watch this space closely. I know what is out there. And I know that most of you have heard some version of that message so many times this week that a part of you, even a small part, has started to brace itself the moment the words begin. Not because you don't believe, but because you have been disappointed before by something that sounded this real and then simply ended, and the next video began. So let me tell you up front what I am not going to do today. I am not going to ask you to simply feel something and call it divine. I am not going to give you warm words and ask you to receive them on faith alone and move on, because something different happened today, and it is sitting right here on this table. This did not arrive in my inbox. It was not sent as a file or a link or a message in any app on my phone. When I came downstairs this morning before the sun had risen, this was on my kitchen table, a sealed envelope, handwritten address on the front, and I want to be very clear about this. I had not placed it there the night before. My doors were locked, and I live alone. I stood in my kitchen in the dark for a long time before I touched it. When I finally picked it up, the first thing I noticed was the handwriting. I have handled a great deal of correspondence through this channel. I know what human handwriting looks like. The small inconsistencies, the places where the pen pressure changes, the way letters vary. This was different. Every letter was perfectly formed. Every stroke applied with identical precision. Not typed, not printed, written, but not by a hand I have ever seen before. I sat with this envelope for 20 minutes before I opened it, because something about the weight of it made me hesitate. Not fear. Something more like the feeling you get when you are standing at the edge of a decision you cannot walk back from, and you know before you take the step that what comes after it will be different from what came before. I opened it this morning, and what I found inside was not one thing. It was several. A USB drive, 7 printed photographs, 6 prediction cards printed in black and white. Every single item placed inside this envelope in a specific order, as though whoever assembled it knew exactly what sequence these things needed to be seen in. I read the letter on the USB drive at my kitchen table before I brought any of this to the camera, and I want to tell you what happened when I read it. I had to stop 4 times, not because the words were unclear, because they were too clear, because specific things in that letter described situations I had not told anyone about, things I had not written anywhere, things that lived only in the quiet places of my own mind at 4 a.m, when the world is still and I am alone with whatever I am carrying. I do not know how a letter knows those things, but this one did. Now, before I show you what is inside this envelope, I need to say one thing to the part of you that has heard too many divine messages this week and is holding itself back just slightly, waiting to see if this is any different. That part of you is not wrong for being careful. You earned that carefulness. Hold on to your discernment, but also hold on to what you are about to feel. when this letter begins to reach you, because those two things are going to be happening at the same time. And the one that lands harder will tell you everything you need to know. This is the letter, exactly as it arrived. I have not changed a single word. Do not leave before the end of this. What Michael placed in the final section of this letter, what he calls the covenant word, is the part that will remain with you long after this video ends. I have read it multiple times since this morning, and it lands differently every time. Do not miss it.
Stop. Do not scroll. Do not move past this moment. Something happened this morning that I cannot set aside. I was sitting at my kitchen table before the sun had fully risen, holding my coffee in both hands the way I always do when something is pressing on my spirit. And the envelope was there, right in the center of the table. I had not placed it there the night before. I am certain of that. The handwriting on the front was unlike anything I have ever seen, steady and deliberate, and somehow charged, the way the air feels just before lightning makes contact with the earth. And before I even broke the seal, something shifted in my chest. A deep, unmistakable, irreversible settling, like the moment before a storm, when the entire world draws its breath inward, and every living thing knows, without being told, that what comes next will change something. I opened the envelope, and what I found inside was not written for me. I knew that the instant my eyes touched the first line. This letter was written for someone watching, someone who woke up this morning already carrying something they have refused to set down for a very long time. Someone who said a quiet prayer before they even opened their eyes today. Not because their faith was overflowing, but because they did not know what else to do. Someone whose heart has been carrying a question so deep and so private that they have stopped asking it out loud because they could no longer be certain anyone was listening. This letter was written for that person. And if something moved in your body just now when I said that, if there was a sudden warmth or a tightening behind your eyes, or a feeling that something just pressed its hand against the inside of your chest, then hear me before we go one step further. You did not find this video. This video found you. And the one who sent it has a name. His name is Michael. Archangel Michael. And he has been waiting all day long for you to arrive at this exact moment. Do not move past what I just said without letting it fully land. Archangel Michael, the commander of heaven's armies, the guardian of souls, the warrior who stands at the absolute boundary between light and everything that has ever dared to oppose it. This is the one who has been waiting for you today. Not for a crowd, not for a congregation of thousands, not for a general audience of spiritual seekers browsing the internet. For you, specifically, deliberately, by name. Heaven knows your name, and today that name was given to Michael as an assignment, as a mission, as a direct and urgent dispatch from the throne of God itself, because something in your life has arrived at a moment that required heaven's most powerful, most trusted, most formidable messenger to step through the veil between worlds and speak into it directly. Understand what I am telling you. Michael does not come on casual errands. Let that anchor inside you right now. The angels who carry comfort are many, and their ministry is real. But when God surveys a situation and determines that what is needed is not simply comfort, but breakthrough, Not a gentle reassurance, but a declaration that restructures the entire spiritual architecture around a person's life. God does not send the lesser messenger. God sends Michael. And today, God sent Michael to you. That means everything. You do not dispatch the commander of heaven's armies to a battlefield that does not matter. You do not assign the chief warrior of the celestial realm to stand beside someone whose breakthrough has already passed them by. Michael's presence in your life today is the announcement. It is heaven's loud and unmistakable declaration that what is happening in your life right now and what is about to happen is significant enough, destined enough, to require the protection and the voice of the most powerful angel in existence. That is you. That is your story. That is how heaven sees the moment you are in. There is a phrase I need you to carry through everything you are about to hear. Say it now. Today is not ordinary. Say it again. Today is not ordinary. Because it is not. The date at the top of today's page is not just another square in the calendar of an indifferent world. It is marked in the ledger of heaven as a turning point, a threshold, a before and after line in the story of your life. Michael was not dispatched today to tell you things might improve someday. He was dispatched to tell you the shift has already begun, not somewhere ahead of you. Here, now, as you listen.
This is the first image that came with this letter. Michael included it deliberately. Look at it carefully. Let what you see settle inside you before we continue. That image is not decoration. It is a declaration. Keep it in your mind as we continue.
You already know that this letter is different. You could feel it in the way the presenter held that envelope. The hesitation before she broke the seal. The kind of hesitation that does not come from uncertainty, but from the recognition that what you are about to do cannot be undone. You cannot unread something that speaks to the exact, specific, private things inside you. And this letter will do that, repeatedly, for the person it was written for. So let me tell you who it was written for before the first word of Michael's message reaches you. It was written for someone who has been carrying something for a very long time, not on the surface where others could see and respond to it, in the hidden places, the places you do not take out in company, the places you tend to privately, in the quiet of early morning or the stillness of a night when sleep will not come. That person. If you are still watching, that person is you. And this letter was assembled, sealed, and delivered across whatever distance separates the realm of heaven from a kitchen table in the dark, specifically so that you could receive what is in it. Michael did not ask me to soften it. He asked me to deliver it. So, here it is. These are Michael's words. This is the letter. I know what today cost you just to wake up. I know that the face you put on before you walked out the door this morning, the steady face, the capable face, the I am fine face, is not the same face that looked back at you from the mirror in the private moment before you put it on. I was there. I was there when you put it on. I have been beside you every single morning, for longer than you know. And I have been a witness to the quiet heroism of a person who rises and continues even when every honest part of them would choose to stay still. Do not call that weakness hiding behind strength. Do not do that. What you have been doing is a specific, unmistakable, heaven-recognized form of courage. The courage that does not announce itself. The courage that does not petition for applause or recognition, or even acknowledgement. It simply continues. And continuing, when continuing is the hardest available choice, is one of the most sacred acts a human soul can perform in the sight of God. But I must say something to that continuing soul right now. Something that changes the very nature of what you have been doing. You have been continuing out of necessity, out of obligation, out of the sheer, grinding will of someone who does not know any other mode but forward. Hear what I'm telling you. The ground beneath that continuing has changed. You are no longer walking on the same spiritual terrain that has been under your feet throughout this entire difficult season. The foundation shifted today. And that shift means that the continuing you do from this point forward will not feel the same. It will not cost you the same. The weight that has been the constant, uninvited companion of your days is beginning to move. And as it moves, as it lifts, you are going to notice that your steps feel different, that your breathing comes easier, that mornings begin to arrive a little less like something to be endured, and a little more like something to be entered. That change has already begun, not eventually, not when the circumstances improve. Today.
Michael included this prediction card. Read every word on it carefully. This is a declaration over your life, not a comfort, a declaration. Let it land. Keep that word. We are not done.
I know there is someone on your heart right now. A name that surfaces in your thoughts in the quiet moments, whether you call for it or not. Someone whose absence has reshaped the entire geography of your inner life in ways that are nearly impossible to put into language for someone who has not carried the same particular weight. Some of you lost this person to death. Some of you lost them to distance, to silence, to the kind of slow estrangement that happens without a clean beginning and without a clear ending. Some of you lost them to illness that took WHO they were before it took where they were. But however that loss arrived in your life, the space it carved out has been real. It has been heavy, and it has been yours to carry in a way that the world around you has not always known how to honor or even see. That person is the reason I pressed so urgently to reach you today. They have been beside me since before this morning began, not speaking in human words because they are beyond that now, but communicating with the full, directed, unstoppable force of a love that did not dissolve when the body did. They have been asking me, with everything they are, to make certain that you received what they could not deliver by any other means. They have things to say to you. They have things to give back to you that they have been holding since the moment they left. And today, through this channel, through this letter, through this moment that was designed with precise spiritual intention from the throne of heaven, they are finally going to be able to do that. But first, I need you to do something urgent. I need you to put down the prosecution, the case you have been building against yourself in the dark hours, the internal trial that runs on repeat, listing everything you wish you had done differently, every word you wish you had said or unsaid, Every moment you replay in painful slow motion with the cruel precision that only hindsight can produce. I know that case. I have heard every argument in it, and I am telling you now, with the full authority of the God who dispatched me to you today, that the verdict of that internal court is not the verdict of heaven. Heaven does not look at the relationship you had with the person you are thinking of right now and see a catalog of failures. Heaven looks at it and sees love. Imperfect love, yes. Human love, yes. Sometimes clumsy, sometimes insufficient, sometimes expressed in the wrong language at the wrong moment. But real, and real love is what heaven values above everything else. Not perfection, not the flawless record, not the relationship that never stumbled. Real love. The love that kept showing up even when it hurt. The love that held on even when holding on made no logical sense. The love that is still carrying the weight of absence today precisely because it never, not once, stopped caring. That love was received. Every single thread of it. Let me say that again until it reaches the place in you where the doubt has been living rent-free for too long. The love you carried for this person was not wasted. It was not misunderstood. It was not left uncollected somewhere in the silence between you. It was received. It was treasured. It is treasured still. And the person who came with me into this message today wants you to know that with a certainty so complete, it leaves no crack for the old question to crawl back through in the middle of the night. They knew. They have always known. And the knowing fills them with something that from this side of eternity we would call gratitude, though the real word for what they carry is larger than that language can hold.
This is what Michael wanted you to see at this moment. Two worlds, two souls, one love that never broke. Look at what is in this image. This is not a picture of grief. This is a picture of what grief became. Let that stay with you. We are going deeper.
Stop here with me for a moment, because I can feel something happening on the other side of this message right now. There are some of you who have been listening from the very beginning, with your hearts pressed wide open, and there are some of you who have been listening with one hand on the door and one eye watching the exit. The part of you that has been disappointed by hope before is starting to build a small, careful distance between itself and what these words are doing to your chest. That part is asking, is this real? Is something genuine happening here? Or am I simply hearing what I most want to hear and calling it heaven? I am not dismissing that voice. I am not asking you to override it or to set it aside in the name of emotional momentum, because that careful, guarded, earned quality of your attention is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is the hard-won wisdom of a person who loved completely, lost completely, and learned through the full weight of that experience that opening the heart again after it has been shattered is not free. It costs something real, and you have earned the right to spend that cost with discernment. So I will tell you plainly what I am not going to ask you to do. I am not going to ask you to silence your mind or bypass your careful thinking or simply feel your way past every reasonable question. Michael does not work that way. He is not here to manufacture emotional override. He is asking something far more specific and far more honest than that. He is asking you to notice, right now, what is happening in the part of you that exists below thought, beneath the mind that questions and evaluates and guards, in the place where your body knows things before your brain has formed the language to name them. What is happening there? Is it completely cold and unmoved? Or is there something warmer? Something that recognized itself in these words before your thinking mind had time to weigh in and render a verdict? That recognition, that quiet, unbidden warmth, that is not wishful thinking producing a feeling to validate a desire. That is the spirit responding to truth at the only frequency where truth actually lives. Trust that, not instead of your mind. Alongside it, let both speak, and notice that they are arriving at the same answer. Back to the letter. The soul beside me has something specific to address. Something you have been sitting with for longer than feels comfortable. Something that involves a direction you have not yet chosen. A step you have been standing at the edge of for weeks, possibly months, unable to fully commit your foot to the ground ahead of you. You know what this is. It arrived in your mind before I finished that sentence. And what they want to say is this. The hesitation you feel is not a signal that the step is wrong. Hear that clearly. The hesitation is a signal that the step is significant. Small steps do not require this kind of courage. Only the important ones do. Only the ones with real stakes attached. And the fact that this particular choice has demanded courage from you, has cost you sleep, has lived quietly but persistently at the back of every ordinary day for longer than you think it should have, that is evidence that it matters, evidence that it is real, evidence that the stakes are exactly as high as your spirit has been telling you they are, and that the careful attention you have been giving it is not anxiety, but faithfulness. They are not here to make the decision for you. That is not how love operates, and it is not how heaven operates. Heaven does not remove the sacred gift of your own agency, even when it could, even when doing so would make everything smoother and faster. But what they are declaring, and what Michael is confirming from where he stands with the full authority of his station, is this. You are not navigating this alone. You have not been left to puzzle through it in the dark without a guide. The guidance is already woven into the texture of your daily life. The peace that settles over you when you lean toward one direction. The quiet unease that rises when you lean toward the other. The door that keeps nudging open in one area while another stays firmly, repeatedly, unmistakably closed. The person who arrived recently in your life with exactly the perspective you needed to hear. These are not coincidences. These are dispatches. These are Michael's fingerprints pressed into the surface of your circumstances. These are heaven answering the question you asked by inscribing the answer into the language of your own days. Slow down and read it. The answer is already there.
Michael placed this specific prediction in the envelope for this exact moment in the letter. Read it. Let it answer what you have been asking. We are just entering the deepest part of this letter now. What comes in the next section is the part I could not read through in one sitting this morning. Michael calls it the identity wound. And if you have ever been told by the world, by a relationship, by years of quietly giving without being replenished, that who you are is somehow not quite enough, what comes next was written directly at that place inside you. Do not go anywhere.
Stay with me, because the next section of this letter is the one I needed to read 3 times before I was ready to deliver it. This is what Michael calls the deepest layer of today's word, and it requires your full presence. If the noise around you can be quieted, quiet it now, because what follows is not for passive receiving. It is for active receiving. You are not simply absorbing information here. You are participating in a spiritual exchange that requires you to be all the way present for it to take root completely. And I promise you this, it is worth every second of the stillness you give it. Michael needs to address the identity wound, not the grief wound, not the loss wound. Those are real and they are deep, and they have already been addressed today. But the identity wound is different. It has been quieter than those. It operates below the level of active pain, and in some ways, it has been working longer and cutting deeper than anything else. This wound did not arrive in a single catastrophic moment. It accumulated, slowly, over years, through the repeated messages of a world that rewards loudness and values youth and prizes a very particular kind of confidence that performs well in public spaces. Through relationships that communicated, without ever saying it directly, that who you were was somehow not quite sufficient as you were. Through seasons of giving without replenishment, of contributing without recognition, of carrying and carrying and carrying until what you were carrying began to feel like your identity itself, rather than something you were simply doing as an act of love. Michael has a name for this wound. He calls it the wound of unwitnessed worth, and it is, he says, one of the most widespread wounds carried by women of your generation. Women who were told to be strong and self-sufficient, and to want less, and need less, and ask for less. Women who were told that their value lived in what they produced, and what they managed, and what they provided, rather than in the irreducible, unconditional, God-assigned worth of what they simply are. This wound is what heaven is targeting today, with urgency, with intentionality, with the full force of Michael's mandate, because it is this wound, more than any other, that has been the invisible barrier between you and the complete fullness of what heaven has been trying to reach you with. It is this wound that has caused you to deflect compliments instead of receiving them. That has made you step back from opportunities that would have placed you at the center of your own story. That has kept you in the supporting role in situations where you were actually called to lead. And Michael is addressing it now, right now, in this moment. The declaration that heaven is making over your life today is not only about what is coming for you, it is about who you are right now, today, without any future improvements or additions required. You are already of extraordinary worth, not because of what you have done, not because of what you have survived, not because of what you will yet accomplish, simply because of what you are. A soul made by God, held in the mind of heaven before the foundations of this world were assembled, considered necessary, considered irreplaceable, considered beautiful in exactly the form you currently inhabit. That is not something you earn. That is something you receive. And today, Michael is placing it in your hands directly. Receive it.
This image arrived with the letter, and I want you to see what Michael sent alongside these words about your worth. Look at her. Look at the light on her. This is what heaven sees when it looks at you. Your worth was never in question in heaven, only here, and that ends today.
There is a woman watching this right now whose body has become the battlefield. She has been fighting something in her physical frame, a diagnosis, a condition, a pain that arrives uninvited and refuses to be reasoned away. She has been managing it as quietly as she can, trying not to alarm the people who love her, carrying a medical reality in private, because she was raised in a generation that equated needing with imposing, and she has spent her entire life working not to impose. But that effort, that relentless private carrying, has added a second exhaustion on top of the physical one. And some nights she lies in the dark and honestly wonders whether she has enough strength left for another round of whatever tomorrow requires. Michael has a word for her, and it is not a word about accepting limitation or finding serenity within suffering. It is a word about shift. There is a shift coming in her physical situation, not necessarily in the sudden, theatrical way that the word miracle sometimes implies when it is used casually, but in the persistent, faithful, real way that healing moves in the human body when it is met by the divine energy of the one who designed that body in the first place. Michael is standing in her physical space right now, not as a symbol, not as a comfort figure, in the full warrior reality of what he is, and he is addressing whatever has taken up residence in her body with the same authority and the same absolute intention that he brings to every opposition he has ever faced, which is to say, without negotiation, without hesitation, with complete certainty of outcome. She is not too far gone. The situation is not too advanced. The doctors speak from the evidence available to human eyes, and human eyes can only see one layer of a multi-layered reality. In the layer where Michael operates, in the layer where the original design of her body still exists in its complete and uncompromised wholeness, the healing is not in question. The question is only timing. The question is only pathway. And both of those belong to the hands of the God who formed that body and who looks at it today with the same tender, possessive care as the day he breathed life into it. She must continue her medical care. She must follow her doctors and take every earthly step that wisdom requires. But she must also know, in the very cells of that body, that she is not fighting alone. And the one standing beside her in this fight is not a guardian of uncertain power or questionable outcome. He is Michael, and Michael does not lose.
For the one who has been carrying a battle in her body alone, this card was placed here specifically for you. Read it as the declaration it is, not a wish, a decree. He does not lose. We continue.
Now, I must speak to the mothers and the grandmothers watching this, who are carrying the particular grief that the world does not always name clearly. The grief of watching someone you love make choices that harm them. A grown child, a grandchild, someone who has wandered into a version of their life that breaks your heart to observe, and who is beyond the range of your arms to pull back. This is not the grief of loss to death, but in the sleepless hours, it carries an ache that visits the same places. This is the grief of presence without access, of loving fiercely, and feeling that love blocked at every turn by walls of pride or pain or distance or choices you cannot understand, no matter how many times you turn them over in your mind. You have been praying for this person, perhaps for years, perhaps with a faith that began strong and has been worn gradually thinner by the silence, by the lack of visible progress, by the exhausting absence of the breakthrough you have kept believing is coming. Some mornings, you still reach for the prayer and find it. Other mornings, it is harder to locate under the weight of hoping for something you cannot see for too long without a single sign of movement. Michael says that tiredness is registered, every single day of it, every prayer offered through clenched teeth and wet eyes in the pre-dawn quiet, every night of lying awake carrying the person whose name you cannot stop interceding for, every moment of choosing to believe again when believing again required everything you had. There is a ledger in heaven that records the intercession of faithful mothers and grandmothers who would not stop praying for their children. It is one of the most powerful documents in the entire spiritual realm. What is recorded there carries authority. It carries weight. It moves things. And what has been accumulating in your account through years of faithful, costly, relentless love for this person has been building pressure toward a moment of breakthrough that is closer than the visible evidence of your circumstances would ever suggest. Something is turning in the spiritual atmosphere around the person you have been praying for. A door that has been sealed is cracking open. A question is forming in their heart that they have not yet spoken aloud, but that heaven has already heard and already begun to answer. Do not stop now. Do not allow the length of the wait to convince you that the answer is not coming. In the economy of heaven, long intercession produces deep breakthrough. What requires more time to arrive very often arrives with greater completeness. Hold on. The return you have been praying for is on its way home, and the love that refused to stop praying is the very thing that opened the door for it.
Every grandmother, every mother who has been praying for a child that cannot see what they are doing to themselves, this image is for you. This is what your prayers look like in the spiritual realm. This is what you have been building without knowing it. That ledger is real, and it is full. We are exactly halfway through this letter now, and I need you to stay with me because the second half is heavier than the first. What Michael placed in the remaining sections, the word about provision, the word about the soul who came with him today, and the covenant declaration at the end. These are the parts I have been thinking about since I first read them this morning. The part that is coming about the specific memory, the one moment they return to when they think of you. I could not hold it together the first time I read it. Stay with me. We continue.
There is something else in this letter that Michael specifically instructed me not to skip over, even though he knows some of you will try to receive it from a polite distance and then set it quietly aside. He is going to speak about money, about provision, about the specific, quiet, persistent financial anxiety that a number of you have been managing with extraordinary grace and extraordinary secrecy, because you were raised in a generation that treated financial struggle as a private matter, not a spiritual one. And so you have kept it private. You have kept it private while the numbers worried you, while the future felt uncertain, while you ran the arithmetic in the late evening and needed it to come out differently than it did. And you have brought that worry to God in prayer, while simultaneously wondering whether it was too small and too earthly a concern for heaven's attention, whether you should simply manage it alone and reserve prayer for larger, more spiritual emergencies. Hear what Michael is declaring right now. There is no ceiling on what heaven cares about when it comes to the actual daily realities of your life. There is no hierarchy of need that places your financial situation below the threshold of divine concern. The God who counted every hair on your head and registered the fall of every sparrow does not have a department that handles the cosmic, and a different department that is too busy for the practical. Everything about your life is within the range of heaven's active attention. And the scarcity that has been present in this season is not a judgment of your character. It is not a statement about the quality of your faith. Seasons of shortage visit faithful souls with regularity. They are not permanent. They are not punishments. And they are absolutely, completely, unmistakably not unnoticed. What Michael is announcing today is a movement toward provision. But hear the direction it will come from. It will not arrive from where you have been watching. It rarely does. It comes from the angle you are not monitoring. The opportunity that surfaces through a connection you did not anticipate. The generosity from someone who had no visible, logical reason to extend it to you. The door that opens in a corner of your life that you had not identified as the solution. But that turns out to be exactly that. Watch for the unexpected doorway. Do not dismiss it, because it does not resemble the answer you had constructed in your imagination. Heaven's provision does not always look like provision before it arrives. Sometimes it looks like a conversation. Sometimes it looks like a chance encounter. Sometimes it looks like a desire rising in you towards something you have never tried before. But when it comes, you will know it by the peace attached to it. Real provision from heaven does not arrive wrapped in anxiety and doubt. It arrives clean. It arrives clear. And it arrives accompanied by a settledness that tells your spirit, before the evidence is fully assembled, that this is real, this is right, and this is mine.
This prediction is for anyone who has been doing the math late at night and needing it to come out differently. Read this. This is not hope. This is an announcement. From an unexpected direction, watch for it. We continue.
We have arrived at the center of this message. And here, Michael asks me to slow completely down, because what lives at the center of this letter is the turning point that everything else has been building toward. He says, "There are some of you who have been listening from the first moment with your heart as open as you are able to hold it. And there are some of you who have been listening with one hand on the door, ready to close it the instant something tips from feeling true into feeling like too much. And he wants to speak now to the ones who are almost open, the ones standing right at the edge of receiving something genuine, but doing that specific, learned, costly thing that people who have been hurt repeatedly do, which is to wait for the catch, to wait for the moment that reveals this as just another beautiful disappointment. There is no catch. I will say that as plainly as Michael asked me to say it. There is nothing waiting at the end of this message that reverses what has been said. There is no condition, no hook, no, but first you must, that changes the nature of the love being extended to you right now. What you have been hearing is exactly what it is, a genuine message from a genuine spiritual realm, delivered to a genuine human soul who was always meant to receive it. You are not being prepared for disappointment. You are being reached for. And the reaching is as real as the breath in your lungs right now. Michael asks you now to do the one thing he knows is most difficult. He asks you to open the last half-inch, that final, small, fiercely guarded remaining distance between almost receiving and fully receiving. That last protective layer that still has its hand pressed against the door. He is not asking you to throw the door open recklessly. He is asking you to let it move those final few degrees, to let the warmth that has been pressing patiently against it from the other side finally come through, completely. You do not need to settle every theological question to do this. You do not need a perfect faith with no cracks in it. You only need to become willing to be wrong about the worst things you have believed about yourself. Wrong about whether you are remembered. Wrong about whether you are loved. Wrong about whether what lies ahead of you is as hollow as this season of waiting has sometimes made it appear. That is the door Michael is asking you to open. And what comes through it when you do will do the rest.
We are at the center of this letter now, and Michael included this image here precisely because of what he is about to ask of you. Look at what has been opened. Look at what the light is doing, and ask yourself, what would change in your life if you let yourself walk through? The door is already open. The question is whether you will step through it. Keep listening.
I want to tell you what the person beside Michael looks like right now, because I believe if you can see this, it will make it easier to receive what they are trying to give. They are not sad. Let me begin there, because I know the image most of us carry of those we have lost is shaped by the ending, by the pain or illness or frailty that marked their final chapter here, or by the absence itself, colored entirely by our grief. But that is not what I see standing beside Michael today. What I see is someone vibrant, someone in full possession of a wholeness they may not have completely inhabited while they lived here, someone whose eyes carry a knowledge that comes only from having seen both sides of the veil and understood from that extraordinary vantage point exactly how the entire story was always meant to fit together. They are not diminished. They are expanded. They are not waiting in some gray, suspended half place. They are fully alive in the truest and most complete sense of that word. And they are so glad that today happened. They have been watching this specific opening approach for some time now. The moment when the channel between where they are and where you are would be clear enough for real, unfiltered communication to pass through without distortion. Today, that channel is clear. The conditions are exactly right, and they are standing in that clarity with everything they need to say, held in their hands, like a gift they have been keeping for precisely this moment. The first thing they want to give you is permission. Permission to be well. Permission to stop organizing the remaining days of your life around the guilt of having continued when they could not. Permission to laugh without it feeling like a betrayal of their memory. Permission to enjoy the morning, the coffee, the particular quality of light on an ordinary afternoon that you have always loved, but that has felt complicated to simply enjoy since they were gone, as though allowing yourself to be fully present in the beauty of a moment was somehow disloyal to the enormity of their absence. They are saying this loudly and clearly right now, that loyalty was never required. They never wanted your joy to be a casualty of their passing. They never wanted the continuation of your life to be performed apologetically, as though living well was something you owed them an explanation for. They wanted you to live, not in the hollow, performative way that grief sometimes produces, where you say the right words about moving forward while still being quietly, privately devastated. They want you to actually live, to feel the good things, to let beauty be beautiful without immediately reducing it with the asterisk of what is missing. That is the gift they are extending today. Permission. Full, unconditional, love-saturated, unreservedly given permission to step back into the full occupancy of your own life. Not because you are leaving them behind, but because they are coming with you. They always were.
The one who came with Michael today wanted this card placed right here after their message, after they gave you permission. This is them speaking directly. Read it like it is addressed to you, because it is. They are not gone. They are in every living moment you choose to truly live. I need you to stay with me now for what remains. We are 3/4 of the way through this letter, and what Michael saved for the final movement, what he calls the covenant word, is unlike anything else in this entire letter. It does not expire when this video ends. It does not soften with time. It holds permanently for you specifically. And the final image in this envelope, the one I have not shown you yet, was placed last for a reason that will be unmistakable when you see it. Stay until the end. Stay for the covenant, and stay for that last image. We continue.
Now, hear what the next season of your life is going to feel like. Michael was specific in this letter, and I am passing it on with the same specificity. This is not vague spiritual language. This is a forecast. You are going to begin making decisions differently, with less paralysis, less second-guessing, less of the exhausting, grinding internal debate that has been the invisible tax on every single choice you have made throughout this heavy season. The clarity that accompanies Michael's active presence in your life does not announce itself with drama. It arrives as a shift in the quality of your own knowing. You will find your first instinct arriving with more confidence. You will find the answers you have been searching for coming a little more readily, a little more cleanly, a little less encrusted in doubt by the time they reach you. This is what happens when the spiritual interference around a life is cleared. The signal improves, and your signal, the living connection between your spirit and the guidance that has always been available to you, is clearing right now, today, as this message reaches you. You are going to encounter at least one person in the coming days who says something to you that stops you in the middle of a breath. Not something alarming, something true, something that arrives in you with the precise quality of confirmation, the specific kind that makes you feel suddenly, unexpectedly, completely seen. A near stranger or a long familiar face will say something so precisely relevant to what you have been privately navigating that the hair on your arms will rise. And you will know, in the way your body knows true things before your mind finishes its argument, that heaven arranged that conversation. Expect it. Be fully present when it comes. The person delivering it may not even understand what they are carrying. They are simply being used as a vessel for a word that has your name on the inside of it. And you are going to feel something returning. Not a person, not a changed circumstance, but a quality of inner experience that has been absent from your days for far too long. A sense of your own purpose. The visceral feeling that the things you do carry meaning beyond the immediate and the practical. The awareness that you are here, in this specific body, in this specific life, in this specific moment in the history of this world, for reasons that are particular to you, irreplaceable, and nowhere near finished. Purpose does not retire. It does not expire. It does not diminish through age or grief or the accumulation of seasons that refuse to go the way you planned. Purpose deepens through those things, and the depth of purpose available to you in this next chapter is something that earlier, easier, less refined versions of you simply could not have carried. You had to become who you are now to hold what is coming. Let me speak now to the woman who has been single for longer than she ever imagined she would be at this point in her life. She has made something that resembles peace with it. From the outside, it looks settled. But in the unguarded moments, she still wonders. Not with desperation, not with bitterness, with a quiet, honest wondering that she mostly keeps to herself. Whether the kind of companionship she still believes in, real companionship, the kind built on genuine knowing and genuine choosing and genuine faithfulness through both the easy and the impossible, is still available to her at this stage. Whether she has aged past the window for it, whether the world, which sends so many relentless messages about who gets to be chosen and who has already been passed by, is telling her the truth about her situation. Michael is answering that question today, and his answer is short. It is unambiguous, and I need you to receive it without immediately surrounding it with qualifications and conditions and reasons why it probably does not apply specifically to you. The answer is no, no. The window is not closed. No, you have not aged past it. No, the world is not telling you the truth, because the world does its calculations based on diminishing odds and visible circumstance, and heaven does not operate by those calculations, not even slightly. Heaven looks at a soul. Heaven looks at your soul, its specific depth and its specific warmth and its specific capacity for love that has been refined and made more real and more rich by everything it has endured. And heaven says this clearly: this soul is extraordinary. And extraordinary souls are not abandoned without the companionship that their extraordinary depth requires. What is coming is being shaped to match who you actually are right now. not who you were 20 years ago, not a simpler, less seasoned version of you, the one you are, the one formed by everything you have been through. And that match, when it arrives, will feel unlike anything you have previously experienced, because it can only be built on the foundation that two people who have both been formed by real life can lay together. It may arrive in a form you do not immediately recognize. Stay open to that. Do not allow the specific shape of what you have imagined to make you miss the real thing when it arrives in unexpected packaging. Trust what you feel in your spirit before you finalize what you see with your eyes. Let it unfold. Give it room to reveal itself. And notice whether it carries that quality of rightness that only deep things carry, that quiet certainty, that ease of genuine fit, that unmistakable sense that this was not accidental. If it does, it was not accidental, and you will know.
This image was placed here for the women Michael just spoke about, the ones walking into something new, the ones who were told the best was behind them. Look at this image and let it be the answer to that lie. What is coming walks beside you. We are almost at the covenant word. Stay.
I want to pause here and speak directly to every soul who has been watching for a while now. Something is building in your chest, and you know it. The word that has been landing in you during this message has a shape. It has a specific weight. It wants to be put into language. Michael says, do it. He says the act of declaring, out loud or in the small, ordinary space of a comment below this video, what you have received today is not a small act in the spiritual economy. Words spoken in faith, words that say, I receive this, or Michael reached me today, or even simply, I was here and I was listening. Those words do not dissolve into digital silence. They rise, they register, they become a declaration of your openness that heaven responds to. So if something moved in you during this message, if a specific section landed somewhere deep and real, leave that word in the comments, not as a performance, for yourself. Because the moment you give language to what you received, it becomes more completely yours. It is anchored. The doubt that will visit you later tonight and tell you that you simply got emotional, that nothing was truly real, cannot easily dislodge something that has already been declared. Write, Michael reached me today, if that is the truth. Write the name of the person who surfaced in your heart during this message, if you want to honor their presence here. Write, I receive this, and mean it. Heaven is reading every word. And before we move into the final and most weighty portion of this letter, I need those of you who have not yet subscribed to Letters from Archangel Michael to do that right now. This channel exists for people exactly like you, for souls navigating real seasons of grief and waiting and costly faithful continuing who need to hear from heaven in a way that reaches the actual, specific, aching places rather than skating comfortably across the surface. Every message that comes through this channel is prepared with prayer and delivered with intention toward whoever is meant to receive it at precisely the moment they are meant to receive it. Today was your day, but there will be another day sooner than you expect when another letter arrives that carries your name on the inside of it, just as today's did. Subscribe now so you are there when it comes. And share this video with someone carrying something heavy today, because your decision to share might be the exact, specific answer to a prayer they ran out of words to form.
Before the covenant word is released in this letter, Michael placed this declaration here. This is not a promise for the future. This is a statement about right now, about this moment, about the match that is being formed for the soul who wondered if it was too late. It is not too late. It was never too late. The last section of this letter is the most powerful. Do not go anywhere.
We are in the final movement of this letter now, and what Michael saved for the end is not a gentle close. It is the heaviest thing, the most binding thing, the thing that remains. He calls it the covenant word. And it is categorically different from everything else spoken today, because it is not simply an announcement of what is coming, or even a healing of what has been. It is a declaration, a binding promise with the full legal authority of heaven, inscribed across every syllable of it. When Archangel Michael speaks a covenant word, it does not expire with the day. It does not soften with time. It does not dissolve if your faith wavers, if your mourning is hard, if the doubt comes back at full force in the dark of the night. It is sealed. It holds. And it holds specifically, permanently, unconditionally for you. But first, there is one more thing the soul beside Michael must say before the covenant word is released. They want to tell you about a specific memory, not a general summary of the love between you, not a soft, collective warmth, one specific moment. You will recognize it immediately when they describe it. The way the body recognizes music, it is not heard in decades, but has been carrying in its cells the entire time. The moment they are thinking of is the one where you showed up for them in a way that cost you something. A moment when you set aside your own need, your own comfort, your own agenda, and you were simply, completely there, fully present. The kind of presence that cannot be fabricated and that is felt by the other person at a level that sometimes exceeds their capacity to acknowledge in the moment. They may not have said thank you. They may have received what you offered with less grace than it deserved. But they felt it. It reached them completely. And from where they stand now, with the full and unobstructed clarity of a soul that has moved beyond the veil, they can see with absolute precision what that moment cost you and exactly what it meant. And they want you to know that it is the moment they return to when they think of you. Not the complicated ones. Not the ones that ended in pain or misunderstanding. That one. The one where you simply loved well, without any guarantee of being loved well in return, without any promise that it would even be recognized. That is who you are to them. That is how they see you. And that will never change. Now the covenant word. Michael is speaking directly. Receive every sentence as what it is. You are under my protection. Not symbolically. Not as a poetic expression of care for someone he is fond of. Under my actual, active, warrior protection. The kind that carries real, irreversible consequences in the spiritual realm for anything that moves against your well-being, your peace, your forward momentum, or the calling that God assigned to your life before this world had its first morning. I am not a passive guardian. I do not observe from a respectful distance and wish you well. I engage. I act. I go ahead of you into the situations that would harm you, and I clear the way before you arrive. I stand between you and the forces that would exploit your vulnerable places. I walk behind you through the corridors of your past, and I close the doors that old wounds have left carelessly open. Every access point that pain or fear or loss has created in your life, every unhealed fracture that has been used against you, I am addressing them today, one by one, with the authority that is mine by divine appointment and the love that sent me here. Your calling is not finished. Hold that. In every moment ahead, when the circumstances around you attempt to argue otherwise, when the distance between where you stand and where you sense you are meant to be feels too vast to cross, return to this declaration. Your calling is not finished. The specific contribution that your specific life is designed to make to the people in your reach and to the world that needs what only you carry. It has not been made obsolete by grief. It has not been expired by the years of waiting. It has been deepened by them, clarified by them, stripped of everything in it that was performance and pretense, and left with only the irreducible, unassailable truth of what you were genuinely placed on this earth to do. And that stripped down, grief-refined, hard-won version of your calling is more powerful than what it was before, because it comes from someone who has been through something. And this world is desperate for people who have been through something real and come out the other side still choosing love, still choosing openness, still choosing to believe that good is possible. You are one of those people. The world needs you now, not someday. Now. Restoration is the word I am placing over your life today, not recovery, which merely means returning to a previous state. Restoration, which means being brought back to the original design and made stronger in every place it was broken. Like metal heated and hammered and cooled into a form of far greater strength than the raw material it began as. Like fine pottery repaired with gold poured into the cracks, more beautiful for having been broken, more valuable for bearing its history without shame. Your life is being restored to its original design and then exceeded. What was lost is being returned. What was broken is being rebuilt with materials more durable than what existed before. And the places in you that have felt like permanent damage, like wounds that will never fully close, those are exactly the places where heaven is doing its most intricate, most intentional work. Those are not the marks of someone who did not survive. Those are the marks of someone who did. Carry them accordingly.
This is the final image in the envelope. Michael placed this one last, after the covenant word, after the promise, after everything that was declared over your life today. Look at this and understand who is standing beside you right now, not as a symbol, not as a painting, but as a reality, as the one who is assigned to your life today by name. He is standing there right now, and the letter is almost finished.
I am coming now to the final words of this letter, and I want to speak to the entire community of women who carry the weight of faithful lives lived in quiet, unceasing dedication. Every woman watching in the United States who has built a life in this country through decades of work and prayer and sacrifice, and who still rises each morning and asks God what today requires. Every woman watching in Canada who has been the warm, steady center that holds her family oriented through winters both literal and relentless. Every woman in the United Kingdom who carries the particular dignity of a generation, taught not to complain, but who has private depths of feeling that run far deeper than the composed surface she shows the world. Every woman in Australia who watches from the other side of the earth and who sometimes feels the distance from family as a physical weight on the chest. And every woman across Latin America, in Mexico and Colombia and Argentina and Chile and Venezuela and Peru and Ecuador and Spain, and every nation where the Spanish language has carried the prayers of mothers and grandmothers and sisters and widows and women of extraordinary, unshakable faith, who have spent lifetimes in honest conversation with a God they trust with their most precious things while managing their hardest circumstances. Michael sees all of you. He was dispatched for all of you. The letter that arrived this morning had each of your names on it, written in the language your heart speaks, beneath the language your lips form. And everything spoken today applies without qualification, without geographic asterisk, without limitation based on the specific shape your suffering has taken or the particular form your longing has worn. You are all included in this covenant. You are all under the protection. You are all on the list of those whose restoration is actively in motion right now. Every single one. Heaven does not have a waiting room. When God moves, He moves for everyone the message reaches. And this message has reached you, which means the movement is already in progress in your life. Right now, in the background of the ordinary moment, you will return to when this video ends, in the quiet architecture of your days that you cannot always see from inside your own story. The renovation is underway. The recalibration has begun. And the first signs of it, those small and unmistakable confirmations that something genuine has shifted, will begin appearing in your life sooner than you are expecting. Before we close, Michael asks one thing, one simple, powerful, consequential thing. He asks you to say yes. Not yes to a religion, not yes to a doctrine, not yes to a complicated arrangement of conditions that make demands out of grace. Just yes. Yes to the possibility that what you heard today was real. Yes to the declaration that the shift announced has already begun. Yes to the invitation from the soul beside Michael to stop apologizing for having kept going and to walk forward now with full permission, full presence, and no more debt owed to the guilt of your own survival. And yes to the love that drove this message across every barrier between its origin and your ears today, because that love is real. It was sent specifically for you, and it deserves a yes. If you said yes quietly inside yourself just now, something moved. In the spiritual realm, that interior yes is not a small thing. It is an act of faith. And faith, even the smallest, most tentatively held, most privately whispered faith, is the most powerful force available to the human soul. It is what moves heaven. It is what Michael responds to. It is what opens doors that appeared to have no handle on this side. Your yes, however small it felt to you, was heard. And it was answered before you finished saying it. The letter is closing now. Michael is folding it with deliberate care, and the soul who came with him today, whose love made this entire message necessary, is finally at rest. Because you received it. Because through everything, through all the heaviness and all the long, quiet, faithful days of continuing, when continuing cost everything, you were here when the message arrived. That matters more than you know. Your readiness was not assumed. It was prayed for. It was prepared for. It was held in heaven's intention for exactly the right moment. And this was the moment. Today was the moment. The envelope has been opened. The letter has been read. And everything Michael placed inside it, the healing, the permission, the covenant protection, the confirmation of love from across the veil, the declaration of what is coming, all of it has been delivered. It is yours now. Take it. Let it work in the quiet hours. Let it answer the questions that come at 3 a.m. Let it be the thing you return to when doubt assembles its case against the good that is coming. Let it be the anchor in the days ahead, when circumstances try to argue that nothing has changed and the same heavy ordinary continues. Because something has changed. Today changed it. And Archangel Michael, who does not make promises he does not keep, who does not begin a work he does not complete, who was sent to you by the God who has held your name in mind since before this world had its first sunrise, is standing at the door of your future right now, sword drawn, eyes clear, and absolutely certain of what comes next for you. It is good. It is coming. And it has always, from the very beginning, had your name on it. This was your letter. This was your day. Michael sent it, and it found you exactly on time.
The letter is finished. The envelope has given everything it was holding. I want you to look at what is on this table right now. Everything that was sealed inside that envelope when I opened it this morning. The photographs, the prediction cards, the letter on that USB drive. None of this was assembled casually. None of this arrived by accident on my table. And none of what you just heard was spoken into empty space. If something in that letter reached you, and I believe it did, because you are still here, I need you to do something before you close this video. Write something in the comments, even one word. Received. Michael. The name of the person who came to your mind. Anything that says, I was here, I heard this, I am claiming it, because declaring it matters, and heaven is paying attention to what you declare. Subscribe to this channel right now. Letters from Archangel Michael, because the next letter is already being prepared, and it will carry something for this next chapter of your life that you will need to receive at exactly the right moment. Make sure you are here when it arrives. Click subscribe and turn on the bell. Do it before you go anywhere else. And if someone surfaced in your mind during this message, someone you love who is carrying something heavy, share this video with them today, not tomorrow, today. Because that impulse you feel right now is not coincidence. That is Michael placing someone on your heart. And your one click of sharing could be the exact divine appointment they have been waiting for. He is standing at the door of your future right now, sword drawn, eyes clear, absolutely certain of what comes next for you. Go receive it.